Welcome to the... hitting the wrong show note thing. Welcome to the Infernal Brotherhood of the Scruffy Looking Nerf Herder. This is a Star Wars podcast made by Star Wars fans for Star Wars fans. That's you out there if you're tuning in to see this live in the chat room or just watching it after the fact. We've got a lot of really great updates, a lot of news to be talking about today. Because, of course, this is the first episode of the month, which means it is the HoloNet news episode. I am alone here on the screen, and I am sad to be alone here on the screen, but there could be nothing to be done about it. The co-host, my good friend who really is the better half of this get-together that we do twice a month, is under the weather, and I'm wishing him the best, and I hope you get better soon, so this next episode I don't have to be sitting here alone like a fucking idiot with my thumb up my ass. I mean, I'll probably still have that, but I'll be missing you holding it in. So get better, my friend, and I'm going to try to trudge along because, as they say in show business, even though this is probably the first thing from it, the show must go on. So we're going to do it. So there's some pretty damn exciting news here on the home front for the Infernal Brotherhood of the Scruffy Looking Nerf Herders. When we started this podcast, this video podcast on YouTube, we really wanted to just cater to our appreciation and love of Star Wars in a video format so we could see each other and interact with a live audience. And what we've realized is that because the YouTube app doesn't let you stream without the YouTube app open, meaning you can't just drive in your car and listen to it, we're missing a lot of the audience's ears, attention. We're missing out on a larger portion of individuals who would otherwise enjoy listening to the Infernal Brotherhood of the Scruffy Looking Nerf Herders. And so we've come up with the solution that we're just going to take these videos, convert them to audio format, and put them up on a website. That's right. We haven't even had a website until now. We've been doing it all through this channel, and we have just taken the next step in really the logical step that everyone else who's ever started a podcast or a video podcast has already done, but we just decided maybe it's time to do it ourselves, and we're going to have the website, theinfernalbrotherhood.com. It is still in development, but it is up and it is live, and you guys can go check it out. And the audio podcast feeds are already submitted to iTunes and Google Play and Spotify and TuneIn and Blurby or whatever the hell that service is. So it's already put out there. It's going to take a couple days for it to propagate and everything, and I'll let you guys know as soon as it's been submitted to and accepted by all of these different aggregators, and then you can take us in your ears on your journeys wherever they may lead in this galaxy. So it's going to be really exciting, and I'm hoping that even though you're not going to be able to interact with us live in those cases, maybe when you do have an opportunity, it'll encourage you to tune in. So look forward to that. I do want to say a quick note here before I dive into the actual show proper. If you have an opinion about this, not this show, because this show is going to be a bad opinion basis, but the show in general. If you like what you hear, if you don't like what you hear, we welcome your feedback. We would like to invite you to email theinfernalbrotherhood@gmail.com and let us know what you think about the show so far. We've been doing this. We're coming up on a year this summer. We want to know what you think about it, how we can improve it, what you'd like to see moving forward. And again, we're still doing the live video YouTube show, but we're going to be converting that to audio. So what else would you like to see from this? More frequent shows? Less frequent shows? More varied guests? Or just guests in general? Let us really know how you're feeling about this. Now, what's difficult about converting a video show like this into a pure audio format is that throughout the course of the show, we're showing you videos and photos of what we're talking about, and we're describing what we're looking at. And in some cases, there's going to be dead air, and you're not going to hear anything because we're just sort of viewing and experiencing what's on screen. And so that's going to be a little bit weird moving back to past episodes, but moving forward, we're going to do our best to cut down on any dead space and let you know exactly what we're looking at and what we're experiencing. So we're taking into account those audio viewers moving forward. All right, so let's talk about what's happening in the Star Wars universe this past month. And this is something, we're going to start with something that it genuinely bothers me. This is our toxic fan base that Star Wars has turned into. Star Wars fans have always been passionate. They've always gone out of their way to articulate exactly what they love and what they don't love so much about particular movies, comics, novels, toys, you name it, cartoons. We are a very vocal bunch, but we have never stooped, dropped down to the level of vile filth that we have started to see crop up in the wake of The Last Jedi. And you can argue that it started as soon as Disney took it over. Fears started, but we haven't actually seen the results of those fears until The Last Jedi came out. And I'm not one who enjoyed that film. I did not like what they did, how they ignored virtually everything before it, how the choices they made, the characters that they brought in. Not a big fan of it. But what I won't do, and what I can't imagine why anyone would, attack the creators, producers, or actors of that film. What kind of low-life, worthless scum do you have to be as a human being to have so little perspective to think that by attacking the ethnicity, the gender, or the sexuality or suggested sexuality of any actor who is playing a role is somehow going to help your position in explaining why you don't like this film, or maybe even inform later on how the franchise is going to move forward. How stupid do you have to be as a human being? And how worthless is the hole inside of you? How empty and hollow are you to honestly think that by attacking these individuals, you are doing something positive for Star Wars? And that brings me to my honest perspective on what is really happening. Because I didn't like The Last Jedi, but I don't go onto Rian Johnson's feed and shout him down. I don't go to Kathleen Kennedy's feed on Twitter and shout her down. I don't go to the actors and actresses' social media accounts and shout them down. Because I realize that I can either influence this by producing shows like this, sharing my personal experience and thoughts of what they've produced, and just communicating openly and honestly how these films have affected me, what I believe, what I want to see out of them. That's what a fan base is. We don't have abject control. That's why we're not in control. It seems like this crazy logical way of framing a thought. I am not the producer of a film, so I do not get to dictate what is in said film. I can choose to like it or not like it. I can choose to voice that opinion of liking it or not liking it. And I can even dissect the film in minute details, explaining what went wrong in my personal opinion. But when you go to that extra level, when you sink down to that lizard brain of yours, and you decide to start personally attacking individuals, well, you lost me. You are no longer talking about Star Wars at this point. You are no longer making a Star Wars related point. In this instance, you are now just being a fucking asshole. You're a dick. And when authors or producers or directors or actors or other fans call you out for being a bitch, you can't deny it. Because it's actions that you have taken. It is in social media. It is in the cloud. It is in the ether. You are a dick. And there's nothing you can say or do to convince anyone otherwise when you are making personal attacks on people. So, what are the results of these personal attacks? Well, after The Force Awakens, Daisy Ridley, in 2016, left Instagram because of a firearm-related post that she made. I'm assuming it was anti-firearms because she lives in the UK. And earlier this month, Kelly Marie Tran, who played the I don't even know why Rose Tico was the entire arc of her character and Finn's character had already been defined in The Force Awakens, so there's no real reason for it there. I don't pretend to understand why they included it, and I don't care him for it. I would just let him know that it's a useless, pointless inclusion. But she has been flooded with attacks from so many people that I'm afraid about doing this, but it's done anyway. Just something like that to indicate that she's staying here, but she's deleted everything. We got to grow up. We are adults, right? I mean, for those of us who were raised in Star Wars and our sensibility of Star Wars is the original trilogy, we're grown-ass men and women. We know better. We know better. For those who grew up with the prequels, at this point, you're grown-ass men and women. You know better. For people who grew up with the Clone Wars, you are getting damn close to being grown-ass men and women. You know better. There is no reason why you should be making personal attacks on anyone who is just exercising their craft. You don't have to like it. And if you don't, shut the fuck up, turn the fuck around, and move the fuck on. But when you start attacking people, you are stifling, potentially, what could be a great creative expression later on. You are marking them for no reason except for your hollow sense of self, your fractured ego. Like you deserve, you are entitled to shut people down. No, you're not. That's not how life works. You're not entitled to anything. You're not entitled to Star Wars. We are just fortunate enough that we live in a world where there are people willing to put up with your shit to continue producing it. Grow up. How can we, as fans, honestly expect to see what we want developed and released if we are purely attacking and denigrating those creating it? Now, you saw this as a fallout from the prequels. And George Lucas didn't want to make any other films because of it. He actually sold the franchise that he created because of the toxic fan base back then. We're seeing it again. Grow the fuck up. You don't like it? Move on. If you don't like the changes that they've made, then the content that has existed before this, all of that EU and now considered Legends content, it's still there. Go enjoy it. If you want to re-experience these stories and tales with the little bits and pieces that they're pulling from the EU and trying to create something new and fresh so that we are interested in going back and not saying, oh, I already read that novel 30 years ago, well then enjoy what they're doing. Enjoy the pieces that you can and discard the pieces that you don't. But just grow up. It is so exhausting hearing and watching in social media these whiny little bitches complaining about something that they don't influence. They're not there on the floor writing it, filming it, lighting it, acting in it. So shut the fuck up. If you want to create something, then go create it. And let's see how people react to your piece of shit. Can we all just act our age? Like, is that so hard? Can we all just act like we have a basic minimum level of respect for other human beings on this planet? I'm not asking you to believe in any religion. I'm not asking you to practice any outstanding, unreasonable exercises of the human condition. All I'm saying is have a basic level of human respect, which means you do not attack people for no goddamned reason. Let's say Kelly Marie Tran walked up to you and punched you in the face. By all means, attack her back. Up until that point, shut the fuck up and move along. You're showing your ass to the world, and you are on the wrong side of history. That's all there is to it. So if you want to just have the chaos and be an agent of that chaos, you're going to disappear in the white noise of social media. And anyone who does remember your whiny little posts is just going to know you as a whiny little bitch. If that's what you want to be, that's your choice. But the rest of us adults would like to enjoy Star Wars. So please, move the fuck on. All right. That went on longer than I expected. Sorry about that. Good 10 minutes of 15 minutes of me bitching. So some exciting Star Wars news that just came out of EA Play, I think yesterday or maybe the day before. Jedi Fallen Order has been revealed. It is a new action-adventure video game that's coming out this holiday season, like the end of the year. How exciting is that? A new Jedi Star Wars action-adventure video game. Now, I played the Jedi Knight series all the way back when it was Dark Forces. Like, I go back. I mean, I grew up with Doom and Wolfenstein, so I'm old school gamer. So this... it doesn't have to be tied in. It doesn't have to be a direct descendant of those games. But if it has anything like that type of playability, it's going to be so much fun. And so the premise that's been revealed is that it is a Jedi Padawan who has survived Order 66, and it's set between Episode 3 and 4, and I guess is on the run. And, I mean, could it be Kanan from from Star Wars Rebels? It could be. There's a whole comic book series about him being a Padawan, and that would be kind of neat, though I've never really liked that character. And you imagine in a galaxy of Jedi with an entire order of Padawans, you can pretty much choose any new type of character. But what's exciting is that it's in this area where Jedi are being hunted and killed. So you know you're going to run into some shit with Inquisitors. You know you're going to run into the Empire because it is the existing presence. What would be exciting, and this is where it may trail on a little bit of like Kanan's background as well, is you're going to be in hiding. What happens? You're going to slip into the underworld, and we get to see a little bit of the underworld? Because I tell you what, if Solo is any indication, Solo Star Wars story, any indication of what they have in store for us as far as the underworld, I would love to see that. Because keep in mind this era, they've wiped out the Jedi Order. The Empire has turned the concept of the Jedi on its head. So instead of being protectors of the galaxy, they're now being seen as usurpers. Like, they are the bad guys. So where else could you go except for the underworld? Because even the common man is going to see you as an evil, vile murderer. Even though you're just a young Padawan. I mean, that's exciting. And the idea of a lightsaber being ignited is unheard of in this era. Like, no one sees that. It's not like Darth Vader walks around, unless, of course, it's Maul at the end of Solo making his Skype calls. He's FaceTiming with Kira, and he's always igniting his lightsaber because he's like, yep, don't forget, I'm a bad motherfucker. He's just like reminding people all the time. That's his thing. Hey, how's it going? That's weird, right? I don't know. Anyway, strange way to end a phone call. It's like this overt threat. I could cut you in half, Kira, if you don't get your ass over here to Dathomir. Or Dantooine? I can't remember now. Now I'm getting mixed up. Anyway, I've totally gone off the shark. Jump the shark here. So, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. I am really, really looking forward to this and looking forward to any type of news. Now, I'll tell you what I would love to see out of it. I want to see a third person. I want to see, and it's not a role-playing game, but most games nowadays do have elements of role-playing, whereas you build up your character, you get to choose skills and stuff. If they did this game in the vein, and they don't have to copy the mechanics or anything like that, but in the vein of The Force Unleashed, where it's that third-person view, and you have a bunch of people, you're just sort of attacking the Empire and stuff. Here's my biggest concern. I don't want it to be over the top like The Force Unleashed was. But I do want to see like a gritty realism So you have to hide who you are. You can't reveal it. The idea of just igniting a lightsaber and cutting someone down means that you're going to be spread around all of the news. You're going to have bounty hunters coming after you. You're going to have inquisitors coming after you. People are going to be trying to turn you in for some sort of bounty or reward. I mean, that's exciting. You're going to have to be stealthy. You're going to have to think before you act. Oh, gosh, I'm getting excited about this. The potentials are out there if they take time to really dig in and show us some interesting game mechanics. It's there, potentials. So also to be released here is Battlefront 2 is going to have Clone Wars era content release. So coming up very soon is the solo content that's coming to Battlefront 2, where you get a bunch of skins and you get a bunch like ships. Dogfights are coming, which is something that I loved. Like I played TIE Fighter back in the day, X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. Pretty much any type of dogfighting Star Wars game, me and my wife would be playing on our LAN. And this, I was in Germany in the military at the time, and she would kick my butt, and I would get so pissed screaming across the house because she's not a gamer. She's not a video game girl, but she is goddamn good at whatever she does. So that kind of sucks for me being on the other side of it because I thought I was good, but no. But I still loved doing it. I loved playing. I love that idea of a dogfight. It's just you against someone else and then the chaos of a greater battle in space. So exciting. So I may have to actually buy this game, which I don't own. I'm not even a gamer anymore. I just don't have the time for it. But I may have to buy it just so I can do that again in modern technology, modern visuals, on how exciting and brilliant that would be. And then there's also a bunch of like other video game news coming out. I'm not going to go into all of that because it's solo tie-in content for the mobile games and stuff like that. But the most exciting is obviously the Battlefront 2 content for those of you playing that, and the Jedi Fallen Order game announcement. But there's also like open world video games in development for Star Wars. I don't want an MMO. I wouldn't mind mechanics of that, but I just don't have time to spend 4 hours on a raid of an Imperial facility or something like that. I got a life, I got kids, I got a job. Give me something that, I can jump in and out of in an hour or an hour and a half and feel like I've accomplished something. And that is what I want to see. Okay, so big news is Star Wars Celebration was announced, and it is going to be in Chicago, and next year. People are crazy excited for this. I've never been to a celebration, and so it's supposed to be an amazing time, but I guess, some of the celebrations have been better than others. How could they not be? This is a 5-day celebration, and all of the 5-day tickets have been sold out for kids and adults already. So if you want to go, you can still buy single-day tickets, and I guess you have to buy multiple single-day tickets if you want to go all 5 days. But some of the stuff that I want to see out of this celebration, I want to see announcements of movies, announcements of TV shows like Jon Favreau's. I want more details. I want information. I want a teaser if possible. Star Wars Resistance cartoon. I want to get some footage of that. Now, it's already going to have started this fall, and so I don't know, maybe just like what to expect coming in the future from that. There's supposed to be there's rumor of like an animated TV series. An animated movie that's going to be released. I can't help but think that that's going to be picking up from Ahsoka and Sabine at the end of Star Wars Rebels in their search for Thrawn and I can't believe that I can't remember his name. Anyway, I can't imagine that cartoon wouldn't be the continuation of that story, because I don't see them pulling that into live action. That would be a weird transition, especially when there's already art elements to be used for a movie. Like, all of that exists. They just have to have the story and then execute it in a 2-hour format in order to really, make an exciting animated show. So I'm really excited for that. Tons of books that are coming out, but again, it's the movies and TV shows, the Benioff and Weiss, the Favreau, the Rian Johnson trilogy. Is it still happening? I don't know. Like, with all of this fallout and all this negativity in the fan base, I can't imagine Rian Johnson wanting to do it or putting his heart into it. And here's the thing. I hated what he did for The Last Jedi. But that's because he jumped into an established storyline and said, fuck all, I'm going to do my thing. But the visuals, beautiful. The story, not so much. If he had an opportunity to do his own thing, frame out an entire trilogy that has nothing to do with the established characters that we know and love, I bet he could execute a really fantastic trilogy. I genuinely do, because he's clearly a talented filmmaker. His Star Wars sensibilities of tying in with existing content sucked, but he could still do it. He could still, if he really tried, and he was heavily watched after by the story group, which it didn't seem like he paid any attention to in The Last Jedi. If he did that, then we could end up with some really great trilogy from him. But who knows? Who knows? I mean, with this fallout, this negativity, with this toxic of a fan base, I don't even know if Solo is going to get the Underworld trilogy that I've hoped would be after it. I would love to see a Boba Fett Underworld. You know, so in the way that I'm seeing this is there'd be a loosely based trilogy called the Underworld trilogy, which would start with Solo, which gave us a sort of inside. You maybe go to a Lando film, which would continue some of the characters and play between it, and then end with a Boba Fett, which would, again, play all around. I don't know that Boba Fett needs to have anything to do with Solo, and all of this Underworld trilogy that I would love to see in my head released, they just have to be tangentially related. It doesn't have to be one continuous storyline. But I've been given a glimpse through Solo: A Star Wars Story of an Underworld that I want to know more about. And this is what drives me crazy about this toxic fan base, is that they're targeting The Last Jedi, rightfully so, for not being what it should have been, what it could have been, what would have made sense. And so they're boycotting a movie that is the perfect type of fan movie that you would ever want if you were a Star Wars fan. It's so crazy. Why are you boycotting the good one? Boycott the bad one. I mean, it doesn't make any sense at all. But it hasn't performed up to par from what they were expecting. So I don't know if this, and I don't even know if it would be an Underworld type thing. That's just sort of my dreams of what it would be like. But I was thinking, like, James Mangold has been floated around as the writer of the new Boba Fett flick that hasn't been announced yet. So who knows if it's all real or not, or if it's just internet rumors. But if James Mangold did a Boba Fett film, I heard some other people talking about this in a different podcast. It would be great to have like a flash back and forward type show where it's him crawling out of the Sarlacc pit, just roaming the desert, and in his roaming the desert trying to get somewhere to survive, he's having these flashback memories of back in the day and these events in his life that are key moments that drive him to finally, either get back to Mos Eisley or wherever else he ends up landing in that desert. Or maybe he just dies. Maybe the whole story is him trying to survive and realizing that his time is over. He fought his way out of the Sarlacc pit. He's reflecting on his life, and so the majority of the movie is actually him as a younger man, or maybe in stages of age, interacting with these key moments with the Underworld in Jabba, with the Empire, with other Underworld gangs or crime syndicates, maybe Maul. I mean, that'd be awesome. Crimson Sun, right? So I would love to see that type of a movie. And that way it would be that tangential tie-in to Solo. But it would also carry forward this character that, for some reason, has been portrayed in the worst way, has given us no reason to think that he's actually an effective bounty hunter by any stretch of the imagination. We've just assigned that to him. We've given him that value of being a worthwhile bounty hunter. When, if you just look at the movies, he didn't do shit. Ever. And he got taken out in the most punk-ass possible way. So, maybe he is just a shitty fucking bounty hunter. Who knows? But it would be nice to see a storyteller lean on some of that EU content and deliver a really great, gritty bounty hunter story. Again, don't need to see a lightsaber. Don't need to see any Jedi, or I don't even need to see the Empire at all. Having that imposing weight of the Empire present, like we saw on Corellia at the opening of Solo, that would be cool, because that's just the reality of the time. But God, I would love a Mangold Boba Fett movie. That would be so awesome. So that's what I want to see with I don't even know. I started talking about Star Wars Celebration. Sorry. So what I want to see come out of Star Wars Celebration, teasers and stuff. But again, they live stream this stuff. I don't want to go into a hall with just thousands and thousands of sweaty mouth breathers who are all dressed up and grimy and stinky to spend $30 on a signature. I've never been a Starfucker, so I don't understand the draw of that. I get that you want to be there when they announce things, or look at the actual creators and actors as they're explaining the process of whatever's happening. But I'm fine with the live streams. I'm okay. I've just never been that type of field reporter to run up and put a camera in someone's face and say, hey, what do you think about this actor or producer or whatever? I'd rather just, I have a life to live, and this isn't it. This is my fun. This is my hobby. So for those of them to do it, good on you. I love that you have that passion. For the rest of us, we're going to be watching the live streams in the comfort of our home when we have the time to do so, because life is not just Star Wars. I said it. I'm sorry. I said it. All right, so the remaining of this episode, and I cannot believe that I've been talking for half an hour. I'm a graphic designer by trade. I'm an art director at an advertising agency, so I love art. And so that's what I want to go through next. There's the art of the art of Solo that was released, and there's also some really great designing Solo Star Wars stories. So the designing images that I'm going to show you are going to be from James Klein, the sort of concept art, and the art of this Solo book was authored by Phil Szozak. I'm going to go through this, so if you're listening to this later after this live stream has ended, just know that I'm going to try to describe what I'm looking at. But this is just because I have a passion for art, and the Ralph McQuarrie Star Wars art was the only thing we had for a long time to get inspired by, and after that original trilogy before the prequel came out, and it did so wonderfully. And so it calls back to a nostalgic place within me. So let's see if I can get this set up properly here. So this is the cover for The Art of Solo. Of course, Chewbacca, Han Solo, and the Millennium Falcon in the background being chased by some TIE fighters. I love this loose painting style. Again, concept art is very emotional driven. It's not about minute details, though some of it does get to that point. But early on, when you're talking about concepting something, you start with something called a thumbnail, which is just sort of a scribble on paper. It's rough. And then you refine that until you have a piece, a finished artistic piece that you can present to a client or your boss or something. And so it's exciting for me to see that evolution in this Star Wars world that I just love so goddamn much. So this next one is Han and Chewie, and behind them they have the wonderful Enfys Nest, it looks like to me, in this crowded sort of cityscape, this sort of like desert cityscape. And I gotta say, Enfys Nest, that's a character I want more from. I'd love to see a Rebel Cell movie built around her and her exploits. I think that'd be really cool. I just love the idea that there was this young woman who has taken on this sort of mantle as the leader that is Enfys Nest, that was once her mother, I think is what was implied in the film, and that she is just one of these rebel cells collecting resources for those houses like the Organas, who are using subterfuge and sort of third-party people they wouldn't normally associate with in order to build up resources to fight the Empire. I find that very fascinating. I love that rebel cell mentality. Anyway, this image is absolutely beautiful. And here's the other thing: is when you're not required when you're creating concept art to be literal, because at this point there's no actors as you're creating the concept art. There's no actors. There's not even really a story yet. You're going to get beats of these types of characters are going to be involved, these types of environments, But it's really up to the artist's interpretation, which is why it's so exciting, because you get to see what other Star Wars fans, professionals in the industry, get to have in their minds represented on paper, digitally in this case, for the rest of us fans. You know, does it line up with what we were thinking or what we would love to see? Is it something that maybe wasn't represented in the films that we would love to see later because it's such a viscerally exciting image? This is one of those. Just incredible. Let's see what's next here. We've got the car chase. Now, the vehicles in that opening sequence with Han Solo and Kira were not exactly, I don't know. I mean, they were okay for what it was. He was running away from Lady Proxima's thugs. But still, you know, car chase with hovercrafts or hovercars is still kind of cool. Oh, dude. And you got Lando in his styling 70s attire. Oh, I wish I could pull this off on a day-to-day basis. I would so dress with this and like a 3/4 cape. Like, that is just smooth. I love that so much. And those boots are just rocking. I'm a massive Lando fan. The scarves is so 70s. And the printed shirt. Oh, it's just so great. I love that the concept artists are carrying these wonderful flares through when they could very easily just leave it like solid, you know, colors. They go the full depth and actually create patterns and stuff. Yeah, it's really beautiful. Now here you see, it looks like Chewbacca reaching out for Han Solo. Han is on top of the Millennium Falcon, and it looks like Chewbacca is being chased by stormtroopers. And I mean, it looks like it could be like Mimban, I think it was, with it was the winter planet with the train heist scene. I may be wrong, sorry. Anyway, never happened in the film this way, but it's exciting to see this again. Like I was saying before, artist representations of what they would like to see, or just the world, the Star Wars universe at large. These images are just brilliant for me. I love them so much. I'm not going to talk about all of them in the detail that I've been, but I'm going to go through them and just sort of describe them. So this is a faceless Han Solo walking into, very Harrison Ford looking Han Solo, walking into the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon from the actual cockpit view looking back. You know, that same setup we see all the time throughout all the movies. It's beautiful. I mean, seeing all of the mechanics of the cockpit and just that faceless Han Solo moving into his, you know, this is his ship. Before he was even his ship, it was his ship. A couple different costume designs for Kira, one with a cape, one without, more of a robe design. I loved Kira as a character so much. She has so much style and backstory that didn't have to be explained, but it was alluded to enough that it made you want to know. It let you know that she had done some things that were terrible, that she was just shamed to share with Han Solo because, you know, he may not look at her the same way anymore. Here's some concept ships and art references from real-world stealth bombers and stuff that inspired ideas of what the Millennium Falcon could have been. And just, I'm going to flip through these. These are just beautiful versions of, you know, the development of the Millennium Falcon when Lando had picked her up off the lot, and that little cockpit that that escape pod that he added onto the front of it, closing it off. Just beautiful. And when you see it drop, it's one thing if it's like a CAD drawing with art, color, but when you see it dropped into a space environment, it's beautiful. And these are some of these more refined roughs that you're seeing of different variations of the Millennium Falcon in development and different ships. It's just amazing. Like, some of these have TIE references, but still have that sort of feel of the Millennium Falcon that we know and love. And then this, you know, this artwork is just stunning. The ship taking off from Corellia, possibly, or some other tech world. Some of these prints on the Millennium Falcon are very 70s. So you've got the Falcon icon from like a Trans Am hood, or like a fire, you know, like a sort of rocker flame streak coming up from the front, like you'd see in a hot rod or something. And these are some CAD drawings. An original sketch right here, which is really kind of cool. I love how this is how artists operate. Like this, they in their head are seeing the Millennium Falcon as they're sketching it out. This is what it looks like at the beginning. So from the beginning of this thumb to the finished CAD drawing or the finished piece on the screen, it doesn't deviate that much. It's beautiful. I love these scenes. These are artwork scenes from The Art of Solo, a Star Wars story. And this is Kessel, the mines of Kessel, when they're just this sort of outside of the mine with the Millennium Falcon looking at the tunnels leading in. And this is the Kessel Run when they're trying to escape Kessel. These are some of the potential space aliens that they run into. And this is, of course, the one that they did, in fact, run into with the big spikes and the huge eyeball. I don't know. I'm kind of done with that sort of gigantic alien eyeball thing. It's been done so much. I just don't need it. I love these Kessel Run images where you have light filtering past objects in space. Just how those play with the light that's being projected through and revealing different areas within the scene. It's absolutely beautiful. I mean, some of this imagery is just stunning. It's just incredible. I do love the play on the final hyperspace out of the maw with the Millennium Falcon and calling back to the earlier scene where Han failed to get his hovercraft to go through this tiny little alley. It's just a fun little callback. And this is the the Kessel Run where the Millennium Falcon is being chased by all the TIE fighters with the storms raging around them in space. Where you can see this tentacle creature, a much better concept artist view of this creature. Much more tentacles, much more squid-like, actually more jellyfish with a face than I expected it to be from what I saw in the movie. Still kind of cool as it's being pulled into the black hole. And this is the original Ralph McQuarrie with Luke, Obi-Wan, Chewbacca, C-3PO, R2-D2 looking at the Millennium Falcon in the cargo bay of Mos Eisley. Beautiful original artwork. It was obviously always called back from. This is that train heist. They're on top of it, hooking up that one train car. Just incredible artwork here. We're going to see a bunch of the train work because this was one of the big sequences at the beginning of the film that really sort of set the stage for what the film was going to be about. So you see, you know, the CAD drawings, little notes. You see Cloud Riders coming through here. The Cloud Riders were great. Seeing them in action, fighting this spacecraft that they were trying to use to steal this cargo. Just great. And these Cloud Riders, they're speeder bikes, they're outfits. I mean, they just look cool as hell, right? Star Wars is great. The artwork is just incredible. So this, I think, this is when Han Solo was in service and they were assaulting that planet. And he was a mud trooper dressed up like that. This is one of those cargo ships that was pulled away from that Beckett's ship. Just some more of these environmental scenes of Han and Chewie, you know, standing in front of different ships in different environments. And these are just, this train scene sequence was just great. So that's all I had for those images. I just want to take a moment and celebrate the art because that's where this entire thing starts. You know, the story isn't always fleshed out in the script because the script isn't always done by the time you start creating the art and the pre-production. And so you're hoping that it's going to be finalized, but you really just have these character beats and concepts in your mind, these ideas that you'd like to see fleshed out. Some of the creatures or the bad guys haven't even been finalized. Their looks don't exist yet. And so you're relying on artists to creatively come up with these solutions. And what they've done is just stunning. So props to all of you artists out there. I mean, you guys are doing some incredible stuff. I only had one last thing, and this is that it's been announced that the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge is going to be opening the same time as Celebration next year, and that it's going to be set in Black Spire Outpost, which was talked about in Solo: A Star Wars Story. And it's this sort of scum and villainy type environment. And I thought that was kind of exciting that, you know, it's not going to be like this beautiful Naboo town. It's going to sort of be a seedy underbelly type place. And I don't know. I'm probably never going to go to it. I think I'd like to, but the reality of it, I'm not a huge fan of massive crowds at all. So I don't really want to be steeped in that environment, you know? So who knows? But it looks really exciting and it's beautiful. Like the imagery, this is something I didn't pull, sorry. There's only 2 photos, but you can go to StarWars.com and check those out and see what it's going to be like. It's going to be interesting once it's released and people start going to it and I start hearing what it's like. Then I can actually report more on it. But it's nice to see that tie-in with Solo to Galaxy recreation here. On Galaxy's Edge. That's just kind of neat. And that's kind of all I had for this show today. Of course, it would have been much longer with my compatriot, but again, he's feeling a little under the weather, and I hope you feel better, my friend. Next episode, we're going to be talking about, and it's already up on YouTube, as you can set a reminder as the video has been sort of prepped, so to speak, the live stream. But it's going to be about the Imperial Guards, the Royal Guards, the Crimson Guards, and we're going to be talking about from the EU legends to Praetorian Guards and everything in between, what they do, their culture, their lifestyle. It's going to be really interesting, and you guys can join live and chat with us and the other live participants in the chat room on YouTube, or listen after the fact, of course, from our RSS feed found on theinfernalbrotherhood.com. So thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel and click that little bell icon so you're notified every time we go live or when a new show is posted. If you want to watch the show live and interact with us and the other guests, we encourage you to do so. If you don't have the opportunity, we understand. That's why we created that audio podcast version. So go to theinfernalbrotherhood.com for more information on that. And I'm going to, of course, be announcing it in the shows as it's released and stuff. But if you want up-to-date stuff, day to day, the website's going to be the place to go, people. Be sure to let us know what you think about this show and others. You can always email us at theinfernalbrotherhood@gmail.com. And of course, at the top of our regular main shows, we have that little I am a Scruffy Looking Nerf Herder video clips. If you want to submit yours, you can either do it audio version, call the Google Voice line at 801-899-6168. Leave a little voicemail. We'll use that audio snippet. Maybe we'll put it on some other photo that would be kind of funny or interesting. Or you can just make a little video just with your phone here. Just point it at yourself and say, hi, my name is blah, and I'm a scruffy looking Nerf herder. Send that to theinfernalbrotherhood@gmail.com. Or, of course, if it's a little too large, you can always send it to wetransfer.com. And that's just a free file sharing service that you could send it to us that way as well. So until the Infernal Brotherhood convenes again, people, thank you so much for joining us, and may the Force be with you. What's up, Princess Mimi? Princess Mimi.